Quack-a-doodle-doo, what is up fellow birds, the Spiral, it's your friend and pal Fearsome, here with a continuation of the companion guide series, where I'll be discussing a companion that has really defined this meta like no other companion in this entire game. Probably one of the best companions you can buy in the Crown Shop. I am speaking of Exeter. So, let's go ahead and get into the game, and I will show you some of his defining features. So, what makes this companion so good? So this guy is mostly good for team PvP. He's also good for 1v1s as well, but not to the same extent. When you get this guy, and you get first turn in particular, and you slow the opponent and you rush down the field, you can effectively corner your opponent while not allowing them to countercharge you. It is super effective. So these slows are this Maelstrom right here with infinite range, a 3x3 pattern that slows the people within the 3x3 pattern by 50% for 3 turns. This is the most powerful one, and I recommend using it right away to get maximum effect. And then you have Hurricane, which basically lasts for 5 turns and does a 33% movement decrease. And then you have Gailwind, which does a 25 movement decrease. All good powers, but this one is by far the best and should be used right away. Alright, well, the next one, the next power that makes him so useful, and this is why I frequently call him a utility companion, because of these powers right here and because of this power, is this one right here that reduces the damage and will of a companion by 50% for 3 turns. So, say if a Nazgûl has like a gajillion forts on a Buccaneer or a Musketeer or some other damage carry charges down the field, and you just want to reduce damage on him and prevent him from killing all your companions, this does certainly help. So, and it's also important to note that if you have like a witch doctor on your 3v3 team, you may want to target over the one that's reduced because you're more likely to get a critical versus that particular unit because, once again, their will is reduced. So that's Musketeer's melee right now. It also does Mega, so it is a guaranteed solid hit that chains afterwards. So, yeah. Now, Super Strike. Simple as it sounds. Super Strike. And it leads to some chains once again. And I'm going to be discussing his epics later and how you can complement those chains with your epics. Alright, so other than that, he's an ordinary companion. He actually has bad range and an average movement. So he has 4 range. That means 4 squares of range. And he has 4.5 movement, just like just about every other companion in the game, like Chantel, Bonnie, Ratbeard. Most of the companions in this game have 4.5 movement. It's an oddity if they don't. So he's got average movement and bad range. So he's mostly a utility companion. And yes, he can put forth some damage as well. Alright, well, now I've pretty much covered what abilities this guy has that set him apart from other companions. Let's go ahead and delve into a couple of the setups. I'm going to first talk about some setups that I've seen quite frequently, which I don't really agree with. I'm going to be explaining why. So the first setup I've seen quite frequently used is the Overwatch 3, True Grit 3 Return Fire setup. Okay, now why do I disagree with this, and why do I think that for pretty much every class it's not all that great? The reason I say this is because there are many other companions that better fulfill this role um, than Exeter does on pretty much every class. And, if you're a Musketeer, Overwatch 3 is, or if you're, I should say, if you're a Swashbuckler, Overwatch 3 is like the last thing you need to be concerned about um, on a companion. For Musketeer, you already have Overwatch 3 on your Pirate, and your Pirate is much more accurate, so having it on your Exeter is kind of pointless. On Privateer, you have Emmet for the Overwatch 3 if you really need it. On Buccaneer, I mean, it's not all that useful. I mean, you could put it on your Bonnie in if you really needed it. Witch Doctor, eh, I don't know. Really, though, you could once again put it on your Bonnie in. It will probably be more useful on your Bonnie in than anything else. So, I don't recommend the Overwatch 3 True Grit 3 setup for that reason, because there are other companions that fill the role a little bit better, or pirates in some cases, or situations for swashbuckle or hiding where Overwatch 3 is just the last thing on your mind. All right, well now I've covered one setup that's quite popular, yet I've explained why I don't particularly care for it. Let's go ahead and discuss the next setup I've seen that I don't really care for. Now, this does come from people blindly seeing what Emmet has, and trying to copy that. Emmet's a different companion. It's a privateer companion, and a lot of people forget that just because he has Musketeer epics. All right, so that setup is double tap 3, True Grit 3, and of course Return Fire because you have no choice. Now the reason I don't like that is because you kind of need this Overwatch right here. Why? Because when in a pirate or a Bonnie Inn or a Nausicaa charges up, you trigger the reactionary epics and you often stun them, which is perfect because Exeter's utility companion means that when it's your turn, you can do stuff with whatever unit you stunned, and you've minimized harm. So it's great. It fits its role. Okay, so you kind of need this one Overwatch and only this one Overwatch for that reason. Second reason you don't want double tap 3 is because it swaps out the accuracy to dodge ratio with the agility ratio, because that's Exeter's base stat. Now, why would that be bad? Well, one glance at the stats and you can see why. 157 accuracy, 84 agility, and you see all these other companions. Let's have a look at Ratbeard, for example. 58 agility, and then you see his dodge and all of that. Man, you're much more likely to hit with accuracy, especially when you consider the accuracy equation, the equation for whether you hit or miss in this game. It's basically your accuracy stat plus 25 plus 75% over the dodge of whatever you're trying to hit, and plus or minus 5%, which is also known as the RNG factor. So yeah, I've just explained that equation for you. Now, hopefully that answers some other questions that you may have had, and hopefully you can apply this when reasoning out what to give your companions, and how to play the game in general. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of double tap 3 on an Exeter. Now, on an Emmet, it makes more sense because most of the units you have basically no will. Let's have a look at Ratbeard. See, barely 40 will at all. I think Swashbucklers might even be worse. Oh, they're about the same, but all of them, very little will. That's the reason why it works so well with Exeter, with Emmet. Oh, and guess what? Emmet also isn't a musketeer, so that means he doesn't have as much accuracy as Exeter. Okay? Alright, now I've gone on my little rant about game mechanics and why this particular setup makes no sense for Exeter. Let's talk about a setup that's actually really good, and it's the one I recommend. It's this setup here. Return Fire because you have no choice. True Crit 3, Double Tap 2, and Overwatch 2. Now, double tap, people may be wondering, hey, why is it so important? This is a utility companion. That should be first and foremost. And I would actually disagree. Because once again, I'd say this is mostly a utility companion. That's the way I would actually classify this companion. Once again, you have so many better options as far as your Overwatch 3 companions or source if you need it in the first place. Exeter is not your go-to for that. And this guy does actually seem to critical a lot. So the double taps give him a full 4 chains, I think it might actually be just 3. Sad that I sometimes see an extra double tap, but this game is broken. So I have seen it several times. I've done a lot of PvP, so I'm not making this up. Sometimes they're actually for double taps. I've seen it. And then of course True Grit, as I mentioned before, for stopping Musketeer damage carries, combining this with the Overwatch. So that's my reasoning behind setting him up this way. And if you want to get the most out of this companion, I pretty much recommend setting him this way on all of your classes. However, if for some reason you need him for an Overwatch 3, so yeah, I think Witch Doctor would probably be the one that would gain the most from doing that. Then go for it, you know? If for some reason you absolutely feel like you have to have double tap 3, then go for that as well. But I don't recommend that one at all. Like, I can think of no situation where that setup would be good. Okay, so to recap, here's the setup that I recommend. Return Fire, True Grit 3, Double Tap 2, Overwatch. And yeah, this means we get to move on to talents. Alright guys, so the talents are Accurate 4, Dodgy 4, Rough 4, Tough 4, and Agile. That's so you can get the most bang out buck. Now, some people be like, oh, he's a True Grit companion. Why aren't you giving him, Agility 4? Why do you want him to dodge? Well, I mean, it turns out that this Return Fire does 1.75 times the damage of a basic hit. So it does a massive amount of damage. So if you can trigger Return Fire, big mucho. It's so awesome to have. Almost better than a Grit in most situations. So that's why. And also this tends to affect the outcome of an encounter much more than the agility does. I've tested both, I know. Tough is an obvious one, rough is an obvious one, accurate should always be an obvious one. But yeah, I thought I'd also point out he has a pretty decent amount of armor, so it's uncommon for musketeers to have a lot of armor. Alright, so that covers the companion Exeter. In my next video, I'll be covering Abbott. And by the way, just because he's an otter doesn't mean he's the same type of companion. Yes, he shares some similarities, but I'll be going over in detail how he is very much different than Exeter. Hey, if you like what you see, you can make your own awesome videos with a drag and drop editor called Filmora 101, who I am actually affiliated with. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, their program is free. There is a premium version, which is also really nice and what I myself has been using for many years. But if you would like to see what a brand new YouTuber has made with Filmora 101, absolutely free, the first time he used it, I will go ahead and post a 5-minute video that I really enjoyed myself in the link below in the description. So be sure to check out Filmora and be sure to check out his YouTube channel because he's also an awesome Pirate101 YouTuber and we all love to support the community. So yeah, I will see you guys around. Welcome to a new line of merch that I will have every 6 months. All the proceeds will go towards the Spiral Cup of 2021, so if you would like to support that event, this is a great way to do so while getting your hands on some exclusive merch. And by exclusive, I mean I will only sell 10 of each item with that particular logo on it. So I plan on having another one made, so if you have any suggestions for what that might look like, be sure to let me know in the description down below. I'm thinking in the next 6 months, I want to have one called If You Want to Get Pets, I Get It From a Duck, and it'll show a duck petting a pirate, a rubber duck this time. So let me know if that excites you or if you have any other ideas for merch, and I will try and have some made in the next 6 months. All right.